Okay, which camera are we looking at? This one. Okay. Well, good morning and welcome to Brekkie with the Guy Who Sews. My name is Sean and today is Saturday, the 28th of October, I believe. And I brought along my very, very good friend, Eric from Treasure Heart Creations. He's been on the channel once before as part of the Quilt Trunk Show, which was an absolutely awesome event. I was so happy he joined me for that. And we've talked about joining each other on a live, but I come on super early, 8 o'clock Eastern, but he's in Arizona. So you can imagine what time it is out there. It's like 5 o'clock. So, but he agreed and he said, hey, yeah, I don't mind getting up early. So here he is. So for anyone that doesn't know who Eric is, we're going to take a moment to introduce yourself, tell us a bit about yourself, your channel, and that sort of thing there.
Okay, so my name's Eric. I'm actually in Los Angeles. I do travel to Arizona quite frequently, so people think that I'm from there, but I'm actually here in Southern California. If you ever fly into Los Angeles International Airport, and as you're coming in for the landing, just look outside the window and just wave because I'm somewhere down there.
I'll have to do that because we often fly through LA to go back to Sydney. So yeah, I'll have to do that next time I come in.
Okay. So yes, I am my channel's called Treasure Heart Creations, and we do primarily a lot of quilting related crafts, but sometimes I will do other things or dabble in other craft making things such as wreaths, ornament making, especially with the holidays coming up. I do on the side, I do a lot of paper crafts, usually not on camera. But I'm kind of a creator, jack of all trades and expert of none.
Me either. I mean, I don't profess to be an expert of anything except getting up early and going live, I guess. Although you're probably the king of that now. So
I'm trying.
Hey, you're doing better than I would at 5 o'clock. It always impresses me when people hop up and watch, but you're taking it one step further and actually going live. So I think that's amazing. All right, so after my next sip of coffee, let's take a look and see who's here with us this morning. It looks like my friend Donnell is here. She says that we can thank her dog for getting her up early because the dog gets her up at like 6:30 in the morning to go potty and get breakfast, and now she gets to sit down and hang out with us. Dragonflies for Donna is with us.
Hey, Donna.
Nellie Franco, Cynthia Maria Field, Russ from Quilt Meets World is here with us this morning. Let's see, Bob McKinley says good morning. It's 5 a.m. here as well, so you're not the only West Coaster here.
Hey, Barb.
But have to watch a few minutes live from my favorite podcasters. Oh, that's so sweet. I love Barb. She's awesome. She also knits as well, so she watches my wife's channel, Dog Mom Knits, and she's doing the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along, which is a yearly thing they do in the knitting community. It's huge. Beautiful shawls usually. We actually got to see the finished product last night on that, and this shawl is absolutely amazing. Amanda will get hers done eventually, and when it does, you'll need to take a look at it because it's amazing. She actually made the shawl 2 years ago as part of this mystery knit along and won best in show at the Virginia State Fair with it. So wow. That's how good this pattern is. Plus, she's an amazing knitter. So
I need to learn from her then.
Yeah, I mean, she's got some
skill I wanted to learn.
Yeah, she has some tutorial videos up about how to learn the knits. So yeah, head over and take a look and see.
I will.
Usually she recommends that you start off with like the cotton stuff, like the sugar and cream, I think it's called, and you knit dishcloths. And those dishcloths are absolutely amazing. Best dishcloths you'll ever have. So you start off making those, and then you can move on to socks or hats or anything else. I mean, that sort of thing there. So yeah, if you're interested in knitting or have any desire, head over and check out her channel. She would love to hear from you as well. Okay. Let's see who else is here. Okay, Donnell says she's going live at 11 a.m. Eastern. So if you need, if you want to hang out with some of my buddies later on in the morning, you can head over and check her channel out. It should be !Donnell, which is Donnell. My friend Donna is here this morning. Good morning, Donna. And you can see I have my Harper Strong wristband on. Harper is her granddaughter who is fighting the battle of her life. She's I can't keep up with it all, but she's fighting strong. You can check out the Harper Strong Facebook page and Donna's channel for updates. We're all just praying for her, for good things. So, she's fighting a good battle so far, which is awesome. All right, let's see who else we have here. Okay, Shirley is here, it looks like. I'm getting so distracted. Oh, Jim Bennett says he is knitting a dishcloth this morning as well. So that is awesome. All right, so what am I going to work on this morning? Okay. Well, first of all, I'm going to get my foot pedal in a position where I can actually get to it. But I am going to go work on clue 4 of the Carnival Puzzle Mystery Quilt by Cotton Cuts. I was sitting here yesterday thinking, okay, what am I going to make on my live? And then my email dings and says, oh, clue 4's out. And I'm like, oh, okay, I forgot all about that. So that makes it easy.
Perfect timing.
I know, right? Because the nice thing is it all comes pre-cut. You just pull it out and you start sewing. So there you go.
Just love those.
Yeah, they're all a lot of fun. And the new one is coming out. Well, the sign-ups start in December. I think the new colorways are being announced in the next week or so. And then the other exciting news that I've been itching to tell everybody is the grand reveal for Village Green is coming up this coming Friday at like 9:30 or 10 Central. And they have several presenters going to reveal their completed quilt tops, and I will be one of them. So I would love it if you guys would come over and join me and hang out and see me reveal the completed lavender. It turned out so beautifully. I would love to show you a sneak peek, but I'd probably get in a lot of trouble for that. So it's going to stay over on the other side of the room where you can't see it. So what have you been up to, Eric?
I've been just getting a lot of works in progress done this year.
That's good.
So part of what you see behind me is this project, a year-long project that I've been doing along with a lot of other Treasure Heart Creator followers, where we're just sewing scraps together, sewing our strings together, and doing different things with it. So we've been experimenting with making traditional blocks out of scraps, sewing crumbs together, and we've been doing a lot of string blocks and just using that to create other blocks and doing some applique work. And this week I'm kind of working on sort of editing a video where we're making a spider block out of crumbs and strings together. So I've just been exploring the uses of a lot of crumbs and strings and scrap materials, just so that we got more things in our arsenal when it comes to sewing up our scraps and crumbs together. Instead of just doing a traditional crumb block and putting that in together, let's make it a little bit more interesting. So that's been a year-long project. I've also been, working on trying to get back into my long arming habit, in which I haven't been doing that for quite a while. So finally got the long arm machine oiled up and fired up. And so I've had like 20 quilt tops that have been sitting here needing to get done. So just
if you want more to work on, I can send you some.
I need more practice though.
Yeah, no, I always love seeing all the projects you do on your channel, the year-long projects you do. I haven't had a chance to do any of them yet because I've always had a million of my own projects going on. But I always love to tune into your lives and see what you're up to, because you come up with some of the greatest projects. I love using scraps myself, but I tend to use mine as part of projects. Like my Elizabeth Hartman and Art East projects, they usually go into that because they use really, really tiny pieces. So I don't need a whole lot of a particular color. So I tend to gravitate towards that as well. Chloe says, Eric, I didn't remember you had a long arm. I didn't know you had one either. So I'm glad I'm not the only one that fell asleep at the wheel for that one. Yes.
I don't talk about it much. I guess I should talk about it more. Because I used to love to just long arm. And then when I started this YouTube channel, I stopped doing it because, well, it's hard to shoot content on a long arm. So did a lot more piecing things. But I don't know, now that I got some different camera equipment that I could hook up to the long arm, maybe I'll get back into that and start filming that.
Yeah, I think that'd be interesting. People are always interested in long arms, so especially like people like myself who do not have the I don't have the money for one to start off with, and secondly, I don't
Yeah.
have space in the room. I'd have to kick one of the kids out, probably both of them, and I don't think they'd be real happy at that. So plus, if I need a long arm, I can go rent one, or I can just send it off to one of my many friends that do it for a business, and let them take care of it.
Yeah.
So plus, I just like to enjoy doing the whole process. This is just me. I like the process of doing it from start to finish as well. And I'm trying to keep my project small enough that I can do it on a domestic machine as well. So
Do you free motion on there?
occasionally,
Oh,
not on this machine. This machine, and this is a question I get quite a bit. But I piece on my little brother machine because this is the first sewing machine I ever got almost 10 years ago. And I've just fallen in love. I guess it's like muscle memory. It's nostalgic value. I piece on this pretty much exclusively, but I do have a Benina behind me, which is a little larger, and I use that for all of my quilting. I have started some pre-motion, but I'm very, very much a beginner. So I used to be like a stitch in a ditch guy, but I'm trying to branch out of that. So,
oh, good for you.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll come on. I'll do that as part of my live. I'll just come on and figure, like if I make a mistake, that's fine. We can all learn together, and I think it's encouraging for people to see that not all of us are perfect. Because I am certainly not perfect. I have judges' reports from state fair shows that show that I'm far from perfect. All right, let's see. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Donnell says, Eric, I am so happy to get to see you here because I never get to catch your live streams since it's always during family time in my house. Yeah, I really see you too because it's always like bedtime for me. I mean, that's it's the hard part.
It's at a weird time for a lot of people. I do understand that. But people always catch the replay.
Exactly. I mean, and a lot of folks catch my replay for the same, like the opposite reason to you. Like I'm on super early. So I think when I look at my analytics, I think it's like 60% plus are replays.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah. So you are not alone. We're just in the opposite end of the spectrum. So I guess if you want to make it easier on everybody else, we all need to broadcast from Central Mountain Time. But I don't feel like moving, so I've done that once. That's enough. Okay. Good morning, Nancy. That's good to see you. Jim Bennett says it's 28 degrees, wind chill, 21 in Western Iowa. Okay. Well, I'm not moving to Iowa then. You can all keep that for yourselves.
I'll move there. I love the cold.
I don't mind it cold, but once you start getting those Canadian winds coming down, whipping around, it's not my idea of fun. I guess you don't really get that in Southern California.
Not really. Well, I mean, the fact that I grew up in Hawaii where we never see snow and cold to them is 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So
it sounds like where I grew up. I remember I was in kindergarten back in early 80 something. And my mom picks me up from school in the middle of the day. She's like, okay, it's snowing up in the mountains. We got to go see it. So I'm all excited. I've never seen snow before in my life. I'm, thinking about all the snowmen I can build and everything else. We get up to the mountains like 45 minutes later, and it's like just real thin dusting. I've never been that disappointed in my life. So the first time I actually saw snow, like a decent amount of it, was sitting on the side of a mountain in the Southern Alps in New Zealand, 10 years later.
First time I ever saw snow was, when was it? Last year when I was in Utah.
Really? Okay. Yep.
And it wasn't much snow either. But gosh darn it, it was gorgeous out there though.
Oh, it is. I'd love to go to Utah. Everyone that's been to Utah absolutely loves it. So, all right. So this is what I'm working on at the moment. I'm working on clue 4 of Carnival Puzzle Mystery Quilt because Joyce just asked us this question. And then, what are you working on? I don't know that. I know you told me off camera, but I don't know that you told the audience.
No, nope, we forgot. I'm just picking up one of my projects where I want to sew something, but I don't know what I want to sew. So I'm just working on 4 patches here.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, it's all progress, right?
Right. So I usually keep a stack of these somewhere in case I just feel like creating something out of them.
That's great.
Okay.
All right. So I am trying to make sure that I do this correctly so I don't have to pull out my very, very bestest friend.
Uh-oh, is Jack coming out?
Not yet. I'm trying to avoid that. All right. Donnell says she's in Michigan. She sends all the snow I would want once it comes in. Now, my wife loves the snow. I can take it or leave it. But then again, I'm always the one that's outside having to shovel it. So, but we do have 2 teenage boys staying with us this year. So I guess if it snows this year, Simon, out you go, Lorenzo, out you go. You can shovel for me. So yeah, let it snow. I don't care. I'll have to tell them that. All right, Jim says they're supposed to get their first snow tomorrow. And this is C. Okay, good.
I see a question in the chat from J. Klein Land.
Yeah, that's Joyce. She says, what is the name of the pattern that you used to sorry, I missed that.
It's called Breezy Day it's in this particular book here. This is a book from So Kind of Wonderful. You can get it off their website. And the pattern is called Breezy Day. So if anybody has never heard of this company, what they do is they created this particular template. If you're someone that is afraid of sewing curves, this is a good template to have, in which I've created a quilt. It's called Breezy Day, but it just looks like a flower pattern that they made. Basically, that template just helps you make a drunkard's path block, in which, as a first time person doing a curve, that was really intimidating. So I ended up buying that particular template ruler, and let me tell you, it helped a lot. So
I can imagine that, yeah, because curves are something I struggle with too, and I don't know that I can actually get my hands on it. Actually, I can. But I bought this pattern at Quilt Show a couple of years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's got a lot of circles. And the nice thing is it comes with these templates. And I made one little practice block, and then I got distracted by shiny things, and that's as far as I've gotten. But there's like all these different little shapes, like this, and this, and this. And if you put it all together, it actually comes into like this really nice quilt. It's based off a late 14-inch block. It's adapted from a quilt from the late 1800s. So it's kind of like a historical type quilt. And it actually comes together like this, even though I can't serve curves to save my life. It actually comes together. So yeah, templates are absolutely a huge deal. So if you struggle with curves and you can get your hands on a good template, I would highly recommend you do it, because I need to make this quilt. This might be a 2024 project. If anyone's interested in seeing me do it, let me know in the comments or the chat. I think that'll be a lot of fun to do next year. Plus, I can, pull from my many scraps because these pieces are tiny. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, what else did I miss here? Because I'm always missing stuff. If you do ask a question and I miss seeing it, tag me in it at the guy who sews, or just ask again. I try to keep up, but I do miss a lot of stuff. Plus, my ADD kicks in a lot. So full disclosure right there. Mona says it's a cute pattern. Chloe says curves are not that bad. You have to trust the process. Yeah, I tried that with my I don't know if anyone remembers, but I made like a little ice cream quilt, doll quilt that I hung up behind me last year. And my intention was to do curves with that. And I sat there for like a day or two trying to figure it out. And there was a lot of swearing and cursing going on. And eventually what happened is I said, okay, well, my good friend Applique's got to come out because I can applique these things on here, and that's how it's going to be. And that's how it turned out. And it picked up third place. So, I'm happy with that. So, sometimes you just go back to what you know until you have the skills. But I think the templates are definitely very, very helpful, as Eric said. So
curves is one of those things where you just got to jump 2 feet in and just go for it and try it. And it does take practice. I mean, my first curve block was not really a curved. It was more like a bent line, shall we say.
Yeah.
But the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more comfortable you're with doing the pull process. I would say Y seams are exactly the same. Once you get the hang of it, and you got a few under or you've done a few of them, then you really just get more and more comfortable with it. So don't be afraid of it. Just give it a try, and don't expect perfection, but keep going at it, and eventually you will get it.
Oh, for sure. I think that's great advice. And, it's like anything else, like half square triangles frightened me for the longest time, but I just kept practicing and practicing. There's a lot
Mhm.
of half square triangles that you'll see of mine that are absolutely horrendous. And that's okay. Every quilt, every block is to me is a learning experience.
Yep.
And if you're practicing, grab your scraps. That way, if it looks like a 4-year-old did it when you're done, it doesn't matter. Make up some practice things and then use it for free motion practice or what, that sort of thing there. So that way you're using it as an education. And I think for me, for curves, if I can find a good class at a quilt show nearby sometime, I might go take a class and let someone that actually knows what they're doing, that can actually stand there over me and go, okay, come on, Sean, you're supposed to do it this way. That might be something good for me as well. So, okay, I'm going to let you answer this one, Eric, because you know a lot more about it than I do. Jan is asking, what is Y seams? Can you explain that to us a little better? Because I have a basic understanding of it, but I think you can explain it better than I can.
Okay, so Y seams. It's when you got three different. Okay, so normally in sewing, you sew straight lines where one seam might go this way and the other seam might come up this way. Y seams is a little bit more challenging because you got three different seams of coming in and meeting at one central point from different angles. So in a Y seam, you might have one seam coming in at an angle this way. You have another seam coming in at an angle this way, and you got another seam coming in at the bottom. So it's like they all meet together in a central point. The difficulty with that is that when a seam is just straight, you can just zip right through it. But with a Y seam, you do have to stop and sort of pivot. So what a lot of people do is they will stop at that one before they hit that one major intersection in the middle. They stop about a 1/4 inch, backstitch it from there. Then they will kind of fiddle around trying to get the next piece to get that sewn in, and then stop again a 1/4 inch, backstitch from there to secure it down. Then they get the third seam from a different angle coming up. So you typically see a Y seam happen when you see blocks like a Lemoyne star, or if you're dealing with diamond shapes, that's when you'll see a Y seam come out. Some people have kind of developed techniques where if they don't want to do a Y seam, they will do like a half square triangle and kind of make the block look the same, like it is a Y, or it was sewn into a diamond. Yeah, I hope that made sense.
It does. Yes, it does. Well, like as I said, I have a basic understanding of it. I see a lot of patterns that says no Y seams. I'm like, okay, well, that's the one for me. So,
yeah, that more than curves, I think people avoid Y seams altogether.
yeah, that might be a good challenge for me to, challenge somebody next year on the channel, that we can both learn Y seams or curves or something like that. That might be a really good idea. Kathy Dallas says her son is getting married, want to do a double wedding ring quilt as a gift. I bought a special template that is supposed to simplify it. I would love to hear how that works out for you, because I saw this. I know a lot of you guys have been following my Vlogtober post, which is where I've been showing a different quilt from the Mid-Atlantic Quilt Show earlier this year. And one of my favorites, I think they're all my favorites, but one of them was this stunning double wedding ring quilt. I'll never get that name right. I'll have to call it something else. But they use like this rainbow of colors, and this thing looked absolutely stunning. And if I ever did one, I'd like to make it like that. But I just haven't had the really have the time or the inclination to put it towards the top of my list, because all these other shiny things show up first. I would love to hear if a template would make it easier. I think that'd be very, very interesting. Plus, I could always just cheat and applicate the rings on there too, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Double wedding ring is actually on my bucket list of quilting stuff to get done. I've never tried it myself, but I have heard others that have. Some say it's really simple, and some say it's the most difficult block that you will ever make. And you
Yeah,
are
and
dealing with a lot of curves on that too.
yeah, I did see someone mention earlier, and I think it was Polly. Let's see, as I said, I read stuff and then I forget to respond on it. I'm terrible about that. She says that curves were, I'm pretty sure it was Polly. We're going to give her credit. And if it isn't, pop back in the chat and tell me real quick. But she said that the curves for her were fairly easy, but she came from garment sewing. And I would imagine that if you did a lot of garment sewing because of the curvature for, fitting clothes on people's bodies, I think curves would come more naturally to you. Whereas I have very, very little clothing or garment sewing experience. I try to avoid it. It's just not my thing. When it comes to, I love seeing what others come up with. I think it's beautiful to see what people can make with clothing. It's just, I'd rather sit there and make a quilt. So, but I think, yeah, if you do have that ability, oops, Eric has gone test pattern. Oh, he's back.
There.
I haven't seen a test pattern in a long time.
This camera has a 30-minute timer where it'll do that. So it's not really designed for live streaming, but I use it for live streaming because it's pretty clear. It's a pretty clear image. So
I think it's fun. It's good to go back retro for a couple of seconds and see the test pattern. So I see no problem. I see no problem with that. So, okay, Jim says he has to go. Wife is up. Take care, and we'll see the replay. So that is awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us for a little bit. It's always good to see Jim. He's been a good supporter of the channel for quite a while. So this is what I've made so far. I'm working on section 4A. And then that section there just kind of looks like the Marlboro logo to me a little bit. And then we've got this little strip here. Okay, so we need the one with F, and then let's see.
Is that a mystery quilt?
It's the puzzle mystery quilts. I'm working on this here, and my wish is, my pipe dream is that they could print these in color one day, because sometimes the darkest color on here is not always the darkest color on your fabric. So that's why you never, ever you can never, ever lose your little fabric guide. This one's not too bad because it is high contrast. But when I did the lavender color, the lavender one, those colors were so similar. If you lost this piece of paper, you were going to be absolutely hosed. So don't lose that. Keep a picture of it. If you tend to lose things, and you will thank me later for that, I promise.
Chloe Morgan is asking, is that the So Kind of Wonderful ruler? Yes, it is, Chloe.
All right. Okay, let's see. Good morning, Kiri. It's good to see you. And good morning to Miss Marie. It's good to see you as well. It's always good to see each and every one of my friends. All right, so I was wondering, I wrote down some questions earlier this week, because I always like to ask questions for the audience, because it's always fun to get some interaction with you. Since this is Brekkie with the guy who sews, I was curious, like, if you guys go out to eat, and I'd love you to answer this as well, Eric, if you go out to eat for breakfast, which is always a treat, what is your go-to item to order?
Ooh.
And I'd love to hear people, like, if you're watching the replay, I'd love to hear your answer in the comments. And if you're in the chat right now, let me know what you'd love. If I took you out to breakfast, or you went out to breakfast with family or friends or whatever, what would you usually order?
My thing, it used to be pancakes, but I can't do sugar anymore.
Okay.
So I guess second best thing would be eggs, any style of eggs.
Nice.
Sunny side, scrambled, over easy. It's all the same to me. Excellent.
All right. Well, good night, Jan. It's good to see you here for a little while. She said she has to leave because she has visitors, and she's in Western Australia. So it's Saturday evening there. I think there's still 12 hours ahead of me. So 8:30-ish p.m. for her. Let's see. Okay, Polly says it was her that asked that questions. Gave us a comment about the garment sewing. Okay, good. See, my memory's getting better, thankfully. But if I walked into the kitchen after the live, I won't remember why I walked in there. So, okay, so let's see. So Jan says Thai food for breakfast. Okay, that's interesting.
Thai food. Okay.
I've never had Thai breakfast food. I love Thai food, like for dinner and lunch. I mean, That is awesome. And in Australia, like the Asian food there is phenomenal wherever you go. It's because we have a lot of Asian immigrants, like here you get excellent Mexican food pretty much wherever you go. It's like that with Asian food in Australia for the same base. Although the Mexican food down there is, yeah. If you find a good restaurant, keep hold of it because it's definitely few and far between. Okay,
I was actually surprised to learn that there is a lot of Asians in Australia.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, like I love the Chinese food down there. Like you can walk into any Chinese restaurant anywhere in the country and know you're going to get good feed. Same way of Thai, Vietnamese, Cambodia. I mean, pick a country in Asia and you'll find. And then I hear like in London, if you want really good Indian food, you go to London.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, because I think the same thing. There's a lot of Indian immigrants in London, and the restaurants there are really, really good. So there you go. Okay, so I'm going to read the comments in just a second about everybody else, but mine, I kind of fall in line with you. Like I love pancakes, and yes, I can make them at home, and they're okay. But my griddle is not tuned like a restaurant's is. So. I like to get something that I can't get at home or make at home as well. I do love a good omelet, but I can make a good omelet at home. So if I'm going to go out, I usually try and get pancakes because that's the one thing I really can't replicate at home as well as a restaurant can.
Okay. So here is the pancake ultimate question then. IHOP, love it or hate it?
I don't mind it. I prefer to go to a family restaurant where I can.
Me too.
But if IHOP is the only option, or there's like a disgustingly long line at a local restaurant, and well, if there's no line at IHOP and there's a long line at a local restaurant, that's usually a bad sign. But yeah, I mean, if that's where the family or the friends want to go, I'm not against it. Same way with Village Inn, which I don't know if you have out there. What are the other ones? Denny's.
Denny's.
I've never had a bad meal. I really haven't had a bad meal at any of those. I mean, when it comes to breakfast, I think it's kind of hard to mess up. And a lot of times if we vacation, we will go out and get a huge breakfast and then we don't really need lunch or just like a little snack. And I think it ends up actually saving you money that way. So there you go. Oh, Beverly has a good answer here. She says, if I have pizza, I'll eat that as well. I love pizza for breakfast. I totally forgot about pizza, but I love cold pizza. Like if a lot of times I'll go to the pizzeria, I'll bring the pizza home, I'll serve it to the family, they'll all eat, and I'll wait an hour for it to cool down before I eat it. Like I'm one of those weirdos. Like sometimes I'll eat it hot, but a lot of times it has to cool down before I touch it. So
yeah, I'm the same way actually.
Oh, good. Okay. So, here's a question for you. Let's talk about pizza for a moment. And since you're Hawaiian, pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
No.
Oh, come on.
To me, that is just sacrilegious.
See, I love pineapple on pizza. But that's okay. I mean, that's one of those, and yet we can agree to disagree. I have no issue with that. If you love pineapple on pizza, you'll be my best friend forever. And if you don't like pineapple on pizza, you'll be my best friend forever because that just means more for me. So it works out well for both sides.
Yeah.
All right. See, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's look at our answers. Okay, French toast is a popular answer, and I love me some French toast. I think the last time I was in New York City, we got there at like 7:00 in the morning, and we went to a restaurant, and that's actually what I ordered for breakfast was French toast. Again, that's something I can't replicate very well at home. That was a good story. We took one of our exchange students up with us, and she saw cheesecake in the display case, and she's like, "Can I have that for breakfast?" Yeah, if you
Why
want.
not?
Yeah, have it. If that's what you want, we'll order it for you. And it was cheaper than the other meals anyway. So I was like, hey, I'm saving money at the same time. All right. So French toast. Kerry says biscuits and gravy. I could never get into the gravy thing. That's a southern thing, usually in the US, and I didn't grow up on it. It's not for me. Donna says she loves an omelet, along with Donna. And Brenda loves bacon and eggs. Anything with bacon is good for me too. So I'm definitely there. Kathy Darla says I like to get eggs, sugar cured ham, and wheat toast with apple butter. That sounds awesome. I could get down with that as well. Chloe says eggs are the best. I love poached eggs. Beverly says omelet, fried potatoes, and bacon, although she also loves the pizza. So yeah, it sounds like I can pretty much go to anybody's house right now and get a good feed. So I'm really, really, really good with that. Chocolate chip pancakes is from Marie John. Let's see if Mona says she likes cold pizza as well. Donnell says she loves breakfast for dinner, and that's something we love at our house as well.
Oh, I love doing that. It's simple, it's easy to cook, and it tastes good.
It does. And I don't think we've done it with the boys yet. So that might be tonight's dinner.
Wow, there you go.
I didn't know what we're going to do for dinner yet, but that might be what we do, I think. So thank you. Not only have you just helped me decide what we're having for breakfast, we're actually going to, you've actually helped me decide dinner as well. So, okay, well, that's awesome. So that's going to be tonight's dinner. Good morning, Martha. It's good to see you as well. Damali J, and if I'm butchering anyone's name, I apologize. I am doing my best with this. She says, I love pancakes, eggs, sausage, orange juice, and coffee. Yummy. Yeah, I love my coffee too. So, but actually, I like all of them. Okay. Pamela here. Eric, what are those striped blocks behind you on the wall? They look really interesting. Breakfast for me today is cottage cheese with a lot of fresh raspberries. Yummy.
So these are just strings that were sewn together. So this is like a traditional string block. But what I've decided to do was, instead of going traditional, see what else we can make with it. So I made a churn dash out of a string, mostly with strings and background fabric. So this has been a series that I've been doing all year long. And just, again, experimenting with different things. Most people, when they think of strings, they think of this traditional block here, but I'm a type of person where I just get bored really easily just doing the same thing. So I tried to think of other ways to use strings or even crumbs, use up your scraps basically. So
yes, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. And if you want to learn some really fun techniques and different ideas for your scraps, Eric is your man. I love seeing what he gets up to. So definitely check him out. There's some other great channels out there as well for scraps, and it's good to check a lot of them out. Like Brenda from Conquering the Mount Scrapmore is a good one. Kristen from Scrap Fabric Love is another one I can think of. There's some really good ones as well. But yeah, he's definitely good. Okay, Joyce is making jalapeno cheddar biscuits today. Well, that sounds good.
That sounds real good, Joyce. Share some with us.
If you want to hear a fun and embarrassing story about me, I'm more than happy to share. Many, many years ago, I went to Fuddruckers, which for anyone outside of the US is a burger chain where you order your burger and you can they have like a self-service bar where you can put your own toppings on. And so I hadn't been in the US very long. And so I went, I got my cheeseburger and I went and put lettuce and pickles, and then I put some other stuff on it. And I went to sit down and eat. And I took a bite and my mouth was absolutely on fire. And I'm like, what is going on here? And Amanda's like, well, what did you put on there? I'm like, oh, well, I'll put some lettuce and, ketchup and mayonnaise and these funny looking pickles. Well, those funny looking pickles were jalapenos. So yeah, I went and ordered a milkshake because that was really the only thing that was going to put that fire out. So I have learned since that, funny looking pickles are actually called jalapenos. And you do not put them on your burger. We do get like jalapeno, like I can handle jalapeno dip and like maybe a jalapeno biscuit and that sort of thing there, but yeah, I'm not going to sit there and put like 50 of them on my burger ever again. I like my lesson. So there you go. Barb is asking how are the boys doing with food in the US, and for anyone that might have just stumbled across us, my wife and I host exchange students. We normally have one, but this year we have two. We have a boy from the Czech Republic named Simon and another boy from Italy, Lorenzo. And they've done pretty well with food in the US. Simon had been to the US in the past because his brother did an exchange year in Texas, I think like 3 years ago. This is Lorenzo's first visit to the US, but yeah, they've enjoyed it so far. There's a couple of things I don't know if there's actually anything that they didn't enjoy. Like they both love burgers, chicken, all that good stuff there as well. yeah, so yeah, I think they're doing pretty well with it. Casita is here. Good morning. Martha says what you're working on is beautiful, and I love seeing those string quilts and that sort of thing there. Marie Scrappy Creations is also good. Yes, she's a wonderful
Yep.
resource as well. I need to get her on the channel here someday. Donnell says, so what you're saying is I had a spicy Whopper. Yeah, you could put it that way. It was an experience. It was definitely a learning experience. Like, and I'm not afraid to tell that story. I think it's a lot of fun. But yeah. I think I'll stick to my ham and pineapple pizza. I actually remember getting one from a pizzeria down in Alabama once. It was a stuffed Hawaiian pizza. That was like the best thing I ever had in my life. Although there is nothing better, and you may have had this, Eric, fresh pineapple cut from the plant that morning.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is amazing.
Personally, I don't like pineapple. I know that's shocking as somebody coming from Hawaii, but
that's okay.
I do. Well, most people are surprised that pineapples don't really grow them anymore in Hawaii.
Okay.
Except for the tourist. But yeah, pineapple's not like a huge Hawaiian staple. And a lot of people get surprised by that. In fact, a lot of people get surprised when we start serving them traditional Hawaiian food. It's totally not what they think of.
So what would you consider traditional Hawaiian food? Because now you've piqued my interest.
Oh, so there's a lot of chain restaurants that serve things like teriyaki, a lot of teriyaki stuff. So teriyaki chicken, teriyaki beef. That's not really Hawaiian, although it falls under that banner of Hawaiian barbecue. But traditional Hawaiian food is it's actually a very healthy diet. There is something called, they use taro. That's one of the main staples. And taro is basically a root that grows, that you harvest. And you basically harvest it in like a swamp water or brackish kind of water. And you just pound the living daylights out of it. And then you just make a paste in which that's what their main staple is. There's a lot of fish, fresh fish in the diet. Steamed pork is a very, very popular dish.
I was going to say, I thought, yeah, steamed or roast pork, like that. Yeah. Is that the one that did you put on steamed? Is that the one where you put it in the ground?
Yep.
Like the I know the Maoris do that in New Zealand. And I thought the native Hawaiians did that as well, but I wasn't going to testify to that in case I was wrong.
No, they do it too. It's actually one of my favorite dishes.
Mm-hmm. See, that's something I'd like to try if I ever make it back to Hawaii. I've only been there twice, and it's only been to the airport for a couple of hours while we wait for the plane to refuel.
Mm-hmm. There's actually a way you can do it in a traditional oven where you just basically kind of you put it in the oven, leave it in for about an hour, just leave all the fat and everything on there, and it just basically cooks itself or it steams itself.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever need a fix for that type of pork, that's what I usually do.
Hey, work with the tools you have, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. All right. So, okay, Marie says, best sandwich I've ever had in my life was the original Primanti Brothers in Pittsburgh cheesesteak. Next time I go back to Pittsburgh, I'm going to have to try that. There's actually another deli in the Pittsburgh area that I absolutely fell in love with. They had like the world's best Reuben up there. I have to look it up for you. I can't remember what it's called. Okay. Joyce says, oh my God, Southern girl, breakfast isn't breakfast without grits, cheese grits. I'm going to offend probably every Southerner now. I can't stand grits. I've tried them.
I've never tried grits. I would
need to try it.
Eager to try it.
Yeah, just different. I did have it once that I was okay with, and that was where it had like cheese and bacon and that sort of thing in there. But it's very, very popular in the the south of the US. And yeah, if you say you don't like grits in the south, you might get disowned or hurt or something like that. So thankfully, I'm in the safety of my own home.
I see your comment there, Marie Johns. Yeah, she doesn't like poi. That's the main staple of Hawaii, actually. It's an acquired taste. Let me just put it that way.
Kind of like Vegemite, right?
No. Think of
an acquired taste. Vegemite actually turned 100 this week. I thought was really neat. So, All right. Okay. So Janice says I don't like grits either. Okay, and she lives in North Carolina, so she's yeah, she's probably in worse shape than I am. Like I'm kind of on like the border between the South and the North, so I'm kind of fairly safe. But okay. And here we go. I figured somebody was going to say this. Russ tells me you obviously haven't had grits prepared properly. When done right, they're delicious, and when they're wrong, they're bad. All right. Okay. Dragonfly Sodano is asking you, Eric, do you have advice on crumb blocks and how to put them together? I had a Corey Yoda line that was washed using crumb blocks and now looks too busy to me. That'd be good. Quick.
Crumb blocks is an acquired taste as well. I do know a lot of, especially like even for myself, when I was a beginning quilter, putting together a crumb block was rather difficult for me because it is so busy. But eventually I just kind of learned to love it. If you have a problem with sewing together or just putting or have an issue with having random fabric scraps and different colors put into the same block, the technique that I used was I just kind of made a rule that I'm just going to put all of these crumbs into a bag, and whatever I pull out of the bag, whatever two pieces come out of there, I have to sew it. And that's how I just kind of got over my issues with having crumb blocks or having different fabrics in the same block and just making it look really scrappy. I was kind of a square personality where I had to have like the exact same colors in the exact same spot. And during that time, I was doing a lot of quilts that were like one block wonders where you just make the same block over and over and repeat it. But since I got over my issue with sewing crumbs and scraps together and then doing scrappy quilts, it's opened more doors for me, and it's kind of made me enjoy the process a lot better. So if let's see, am I going off track? What was the question?
About how if it's too busy, like
if
crumb
it's
blocks.
okay, so if it is too busy, or if you do find that it is too busy, just make a smaller version of it and then put a border around it. That's one thing that I've learned.
Yeah, you're like the king of borders. But and it always looks wonderful. Yes, I mean that's wonderful advice. I love that you said that, because I didn't think about it till you said it. But yeah, you are like the king of borders, and it works. Like the sizing up and everything else. And yeah, wonderful advice.
Because what borders really do is it gives your eyes a spot to just rest from all the craziness. And that's what I found. I've seen some really crazy quilts, traditional crazy quilts, where it is really like there's patterns on the fabric. There's all different colors coming at you. And the smart thing that these creators have done is they put a consistent border, just a solid fabric of black or white or something neutral. And it tends to actually make the fabric shine a lot more, but it's more pleasing to the eye because you do have a spot to just rest. I find that if I just sew different crumbs and different fabric scraps together and I don't put a border in, sometimes even for myself to this day, it is still busy for me. So so just make the whatever, if you're making a square or some kind of block, just make it smaller or make it the same size, but just put a border around it. That usually does the trick for me.
Yeah, that's such wonderful advice. Like I've always seen the borders on there, and I've actually like my go-to recently is if I have a lot of pretty fabric and I've got like little crumbs or like leftover half square triangles and that sort of thing there, I'll make a border out of those crumbs or scraps. And I didn't know why I liked it, but now that you mentioned that, it all makes sense. So yeah, I absolutely love that. See, this is why I bring guests on. I love listening to comments and the chat and that sort of thing. Next, we'll all learn so much from each other. So, okay, let's see. Okay, Jeanette is here from Riddle, Oregon. So she's out in your time zone. What t-shirt this week? My t-shirt. Okay, so it says I quilt, and see, I always like bringing out different t-shirts that but it says underneath, and I'm not going to stand up because I'm fat. But it says, but my favorite hobby is collecting fabric, which is so true. That's why I have a nice stash, and I've been able to pull from stash for a lot of my projects recently. My poor quilt shop probably thinks that I've like got deported or moved to a different state or something like that. I need to go
Yeah.
out there one day, but I haven't made it out there yet. So
This year, one of my biggest goals this year was to actually just start condensing down and using up my stash. So I'm down to 2 bookcases. It was 4 before.
hey, that's good. For me, it's like the closest quilt shop that I like to go to. Well, actually, there's two. They're about the same distance apart. They're a good 30 to 45 minutes without traffic to get to. So I really have to so I figure 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back, and then an hour in the store after I start browsing and looking at everything else. I mean, that's 3 hours or close enough to it. So I really have to make it worth my while. Do I want to go spend 3 hours in the store, go into the store and back, or do I want to sit there and get some work done on the project? And usually I'll get to Saturday morning and I'm like, okay, I got my podcast tomorrow. I've done nothing all week. Okay, yeah, we're just going to pull from stash. So it's actually kind of worked out nicely for me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I'm a lot of people are shocked that when I tell them that in Los Angeles, as big as a city as it is, there's not a ton of quilt shops here. And
I'm not super surprised because isn't like rent and that sort of thing like super expensive?
it is. And that's one
Yeah,
of the primary reasons why a lot of them, they start and they eventually shut down.
yeah,
But the interesting thing is with all the fashion designers and interior designers here, there's a lot of fabric stores that sell quilting cotton, in which a lot of quilters, you do find them there. But
right.
um, yeah, just not a lot of quilt shops here. In fact, the nearest quilt shop, I mean, there is one that is maybe about 20 minutes drive away from where I am, but the next quilt shop is about an hour or 2 hour drive without traffic. Um,
And at that point, you might as well just order online, let them deliver it to your door, right?
exactly.
So there you go. All right. My friend Jamie is here from the quilting compound. She says that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying not to buy anything. I have so much already. Yeah, I mean, I love supporting the quilt shop where I can. And, I do have to go sooner rather than later and get some backing fabric for my 2 t-shirt quilts. But yeah, I'm trying to knock down my stash, but I have a lot of stuff and it's a lot easier too. So, all right, let's
That's
see,
one thing
Laura.
about all of us quilters. We always say we have enough fabric to last us 3 lifetimes, and yet what do? We buy more fabric.
Well, you know what? I think 2020 kind of taught us sometimes it's good to have a stash because there was certain stuff like once we started all making masks and that we couldn't get our hands on.
That's true. That's true.
I had orders for t-shirt quilts and I ran out of fusible interfacing. Could not.
Could
Yeah,
not. Yeah, that's not a good
I
thing.
could not get my hand, and I didn't realize people were using it for masks. I went to Joanne. I was thinking, okay, I'll just get because I buy a bolt at a time just to make my life easier, and I couldn't get my hands on it. Always out of stock, and I ended up buying it on Etsy from somebody. It was 3 times the normal price, and it was garbage. I hated it, and so now I keep 2 bolts in stock all the time. I am not getting caught out a second time. So that way, if it ever happens again, plus I don't have to, panic every time that I need to use it. I just know I have some in stock. So, that's something I learned from it. Okay, Jackie Henny says fabric is so expensive here. Where are you located? I'm guessing either Canada or Australia, New Zealand, because I know in Australia it's like 3 times the cost here. What would cost me $9 or $10 a yard here? I saw the same fabric in my hometown for I think it was like 25, and so there it stayed.
I know in Canada their prices is almost double of ours.
Yeah, it's like 50 to 7. I depends on where you go, of course, like
Right.
50 to 75% more. Yeah. Now with the Canadian dollar, it's worth about 80 US cents. I mean, you can take about a 20% discount with the US dollar, but still, it's still a lot more expensive. If you live anywhere close to the US border, run across the border and save yourself some cash. All right, so someone's calling themselves a fabric rescuer. Yes, I think that's awesome. We need to make a t-shirt with that. Dragonflies Donna says she would love to see a video on what's in my stash. There actually is a plan for kind of sort of like that, but maybe doing a video would be fun on that. So thank you for that idea. I think that might be something fun to do. Oh, she's from Adelaide, Australia.
Oh,
Okay. That's awesome. You weren't the lady that's been talking to my friend Basita, were you? Because I know she was talking to someone that was living in the Adelaide area. So I'm not sure if that's the same lady or not. Um,
is that Western Australia or is that on the east
South.
side? South. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically in the middle on the southern side. Perth is the city over on Western Australia, which is where um Jan Johnson is fairly close to.
I see. That's on my bucket list to visit.
Oh, it's a beautiful country. You will love it if you go. The worst part's the flight getting there because you're just sitting in that aluminium can of wings for so long. Like you think it's a long way to Hawaii. Yeah, that's only a third of the way there.
Yeah, I heard it's like a 17-hour flight from Los Angeles.
Yes, on the way over, it's about 16 to 17, depending on the winds. Coming back, it's like 13.
Oh.
So it's not as, oh, what have I done here?
Uh-oh.
Oh, right. Hang
Is
on,
this
what
a
did I
Jack
do?
moment?
Yeah, I think so. Yep. Okay, so full disclosure. So if you're following along with me, this is not right. This section over here should be on the left.
Ah.
I always say there's rarely a clue where I don't have to pull out my mate Jack. So the trend continues. So that's okay. We'll pull it out. We'll come back tomorrow and you will see that completed section there. So not an issue. Eric should be back in just a moment. His camera does that every 30 minutes. Plus, we just want to go retro and see the old school test pattern once in a while. Yeah, so no, that's okay. I mean, mistakes happen. I'd rather discover this now than when we go to assemble it in April. So
yeah, that's true.
not an issue. So that's block 1. It's 4A. I'll get it right in a minute. I've been working on that plus the Village Green one, so I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, let's get back to the comments real quick and see if I missed anything. Marie says, I'm not buying fabric right now. I swear I'm really not. I think that's the biggest lie we all tell ourselves. All right,
Oh,
Molly
I know that
says,
feeling, Marie.
Molly says, I love all the different guests you have on because I learn about new people to follow. Well, thank you. That's one of the things I love about the live is I really admire those that can do lives by themselves. I can at a pinch, but I find it so much easier with a guest. And it's always nice to have different people on, especially, the smaller channels that you may not know about as well. It's always fun to, give them a bit of exposure and find a new friend because, we may be, it may be a new best friend, so it's been a lot of fun and it's something I've been doing now for a little over a year. And I plan to continue on as long as I can find people to come join me. So there we go.
I would love to have people on my live. It's just that my computer can't handle the, being on live as well as running something like a Zoom at the same time. So yeah, something that's an issue that I need to work on, but I would love to actually talk with some other content creators out there on YouTube, not just within the quilting space, but within the crafting space in general, because there are some very, very interesting, people that I find interesting that I would just love to have a discussion with.
Sure. I mean, I run all mine on Zoom and I'm now running it on a laptop and a phone, but I was actually running my lives for about 12 months on my phone.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Wow.
So it is doable. Like if you, and I mean, I don't buy the super expensive phones either. I'm frugal at the best of times.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, if you have your Zoom, it has to be a paid membership, but yeah, you can do it with your phone if you so wish. So that's always an option for you. And you and I can talk about that offline at a later point if you want. Okay, so let's see. I had some more questions for you. Okay. All right. So the other thing I was going to ask everybody in the audience, and I'd like to hear your view on this, because I know you've been to a few quilt shows, Eric, is when you go to a quilt show, what is your favorite type of quilt to view at a quilt show? Not the one that you make, but when you go to view, are you someone that like gravitates towards the art quilt section or the modern section or the traditional? or the crazy busy, super bright color section, or something else. I'd love to hear what you gravitate towards, and I'd love also to hear in the comments or chat as well what everybody else thinks.
Definitely, I do gravitate to more of the art quilts. It just fascinates me what people do with fabric and what they can do, mixing in different mediums. I do know a lot of artists will paint on the fabric and then quilt it, which looks absolutely stunning. I've been to, and I'm about to head to Houston again. And every year at Houston, there's always something very innovative that I do see. I've seen quilts made out of leather. I've seen quilts where quilt fashion, where they just do overcoats and the overcoat is a quilt itself. I've seen someone actually do a horse saddle, and they actually quilted on the horse saddle, which was absolutely stunning. I just like the aspect of just taking something and seeing what the possibilities are. So it's usually the art quilts that I go to kind of gravitate to. There was actually a woman one year at a quilt show. This was at Houston, and she actually did whole cloth quilts, but when you put it in black light, because she used those type of neon threads, it glowed in the dark. So the background that she used was white, and you would think that she would probably want to use something like a black, but with the white fabric, it was interesting to see it in black light. So that was always memorable for me because it was just something brand new. It was something totally innovative that I thought that I would never see again. So I'm glad I got to see that.
That would be fun to see.
Yeah.
So Houston, have you been to that show before? That's the one that's like next weekend. I think they've got Quilt Market going on right now for the like for the industry folk, and then the show itself is next week, right?
Right.
That's probably a good thing the Astros lost in the championship series, because the hotel rates won't be as high.
Oh, let me tell you, the first time I went to Houston, my gosh, that's when the Astros did win the World Series. And they do like the celebratory parade, which is right in front of the George Brown Convention Center, which is where Houston International Quilt Festival is. So you had about 5 million people all converging in one little square block of the city.
Yeah, and I would have turned around and walked back home. I forget this.
It was a good thing I knew how to navigate Houston's public transportation system, because I would have been stuck in a long traffic jam.
Yeah, I love using public transport in those bigger cities to get around, like New York, DC. So it's so much easier for me. I don't like driving in big cities if I can avoid it. I'd love to go to Houston. I guess it's on my bucket list. I think I'd love to go. I've looked into pricing. I can get a nonstop flight from my airport to Houston, which is really, really nice. So, and it gets in, like, it leaves here at like 6:30 in the morning, gets in at like 8:30. So, I mean, I could probably go down like a Friday morning, hang out at the show, and maybe come home Saturday evening, because the flight doesn't leave till like 7 o'clock at night. So, I mean, I wouldn't have to stay like a whole long time, but I just don't know when that's realistically going to happen. It's obviously not going to happen this year. I don't know, maybe next year after, who knows? We'll have to watch and see. All right. So,
well, one thing about Houston is it is a huge show. So it does take more than a day to actually see everything, if that's what you really want to do. But the first time I went, I actually spent 3 days there. First day was just looking at all the quilts, and then the next 2 days was just shopping. But if you've never been to a quilt show, or a quilt show that's on the national or international scale, the size difference between that and like a regional or even a local quilt show, I mean, it's phenomenal. Think of 2 football-sized fields full of just nothing but quilts and vendors.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
That's how large it is.
So I might have to go for 2. Yeah, I figured 2 days might be enough, but maybe I should say 3. Okay. Because, I mean, that's the nice thing with the flight going down. I mean, I'll be there in time for it to open that same morning. So I wouldn't lose a day, and then the flight doesn't come back until after the show's done. So I also have to save my pennies and put that on my list someday. All right, Martha is asking, can we talk about, yes, I was just about to get to that, Martha. Thank you for suggesting that. Okay, so question about washing fabrics before you use them. In the comments, let me know if you pre-wash or do not pre-wash. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on yours too, Eric. Do you pre-wash your fabrics?
I do not.
Me either.
That's and I understand I do run the risk of having the fabrics shrink, but when I prepare my fabrics before I even cut it, I heavily drench it in a lot of starch. And I do notice that when I do that, it kind of does the pre-shrinking for me. So
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried pre-washing it, but to me, it just didn't make a difference. Now, if I'm trying to get the color, like if I'm using a red fabric and the color bleeds a lot, then I will consider pre-washing it. But most of the time, yeah, I just don't pre-wash it. To me, that's just one extra step for that I don't find necessary, but not to say that it's right or wrong. But I do know there's a lot of quilters, especially with the guild that I go to. They're hardcore. You got to pre-wash it. You got to do certain things to it, and I'm like, no. But it's a debate that a lot of people will fight over.
Yeah, and I don't have the fight in me. I think back in the and I could be wrong on this, and I'm more than happy to have someone correct me if I'm wrong. But I think back in the day, like it was probably necessary. But I think with construction techniques on the actual fabric itself these days, because it's a tighter weave and they can make it where it doesn't come loose and that sort of thing there, it probably doesn't shrink as much as it used to.
Right.
Or it holds up, so I don't know that pre-washing is probably as necessary as it may have been, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But I could be wrong. So I mean, don't take that as being authoritative, like I could be wrong, but that's kind of how I feel about it, is that if you want to pre-wash it, pre-wash it. If you don't. I have rarely pre-washed fabric. If I did, it was a long time ago, and I haven't had any issues, but it's maybe I did. Marie says, nope, I have enough laundry. Yes, I agree with you there, especially the two boys that are both active in sports. I'm always doing laundry. All right, so
it's one of my least favorite things to do is laundry.
I don't mind the laundry so much. It's not that hard for me. I really don't like dishes, but all right. What about using pre-washed fabrics with washed fabrics? Now that is an interesting topic. I think, it needs to be all one way or all the other. I think if you start mixing, that's when you got to start running into trouble.
Yep.
Potentially. Yep. So if keep it one way or the other. All right, so I'm sitting there thinking about it. Okay, I do work with pre-washed fabrics. They're called t-shirt quilts. The t-shirts are pre-washed.
I haven't done a t-shirt quilt in years. I should do one.
But I also, but now we're talking about, I guess maybe the fusible interfacing helps. But I mean, that's pre-washed versus non-pre-washed, because I don't pre-wash the sashing, and I've never had a problem with that either. So. But I think as a rule, I would not recommend using pre-washed and non-pre-washed fabrics together if you can avoid it. I mean, if it's only small pieces like a crumb quilt or something, that's probably not make much of a difference. But if you're using any significant amounts, but again, I'm not the knower of all knowledge. So if someone knows more than me, please chime in. Damali says they wash yardage, but not pre-cuts. Yeah, you do not want to mess with pre-cut, because then you got to really mess stuff up.
Oh, I made the mistake once of pre-washing a layer cake before using it, because I didn't know any better. And let me tell you, that fabric just totally got distorted, and it ended up being an 8.5-inch block or 8.5-inch square when I pulled it out.
Yeah. So that is a very good point. I'm glad that Damali brought that up. Don't ever wash your your pre-cuts. That's something that they tell us here with the cotton cuts, because this is all pre-cut, which I love because I don't have to cut any fabric. But yeah, you don't starch it, you don't wash it, you just pull it out. You can put a hot iron on it quite happily, but
I see Kathleen Champ is saying, Eric, by any chance, do you have any coffee ready? It's all in here.
I'm not having a good day. I have to rip this out.
Uh-oh.
And rip that out. Okay. So this is fun. Yeah, all right. So welcome to Brekkie, the guy who sews Eric and Jack.
So let me ask you this question, Sean, because there's been a number of quilters here in Los Angeles that are male. And because we're in such a heavily dominated female hobby, I've walked into quilt shops, quilt shops in general all over the country, and I do sometimes get some strange looks because it's a male, and the representatives are always asking me, "Oh, where's your wife?" And like, I am the wife. So, but do you feel like you get discriminated or you get singled out because you are a male quilter?
This is a question that comes up quite a bit, actually. That's okay. It's a good question to answer. I have not had that, and maybe it's different because I'm on the East Coast, or it might be regional, or the fact that I go into the same quilt shops a lot. Although the same thing will be said if I go to a new quilt shop or a vendor at a quilt show. No, I do not feel discriminated against. The biggest thing I've found is that I sometimes have to go seek for assistance because they do it. Sometimes people do assume that I'm there just hanging out while my wife's shopping. And a lot of times I go by myself. But yeah, I think too, if I walk into the store by myself, they kind of recognize that I am there to quilt. And I think the other thing that can kind of help you out too is that if you wear like a quilting t-shirt, like, you know, I piece or something like that, it would be interesting for you to try that one time and see if that makes any difference. Yeah, but that's the thing I've noticed is that if I sometimes have to go seek for help. And instead of someone coming to me automatically, although I've been to many quilt shops where they've come to me and said, "Hey, can we help you with anything?" Maybe they think I'm lost. I don't know, but I have thankfully I have not felt that. But I've also noticed too over the years that I've seen more and more. A lot of times I'll come into a shop, especially the bigger one near me. I'm not the only gentleman quilter in there.
Oh, okay.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing at Joanne. I've seen other gentlemen in there at the same time as me. So I think there's more of us moving into the quilting world, and which I think is awesome. So I'd love to hear your answer on that again in the future. You know, maybe come back in a year or two and see how but it could be different out in your part of the world.
I do notice that in certain parts of the country, that maybe they're not as exposed to male quilters or just male people that sew. So when I visited, I won't say the quilt shop, but they were kind of shocked that I was a quilter, and they were assuming that I was just lost and going to ask them for directions. But when I asked them, do they have a particular ruler? Then they said, "Oh, you're a quilter." And they were like, and I was like, "Yeah, why else would I be in a quilt shop?" And then that's when they explained to me, "Oh, we thought maybe you were lost and you were going to ask us for directions." But they were pleasantly surprised that I was a male quilter that they've never came across before. So
yeah.
And it's always interesting to hear other male quilters and what their experiences are, because some of them, when I do ask that question, some of them, they do mention that, yes, they get banned from certain quilt shops. They get excluded from certain quilting activities, in which then, they just find other people out on the internet and then just make friends that way, or quilting friends that way. And it's kind of, to me, it's sad, but I kind of understand it, but still don't agree with it.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if it's a regional thing, because like I know like where I live, I live in a very, very, and I don't, I'm taking a guess on this, but I live in an area that's got a lot of military.
Mhm.
And I noticed like the quilting Marine, for instance, he uses quilting as a way to deal with PTSD and that sort of thing
Right.
there. So I'm wondering if we have a lot of male quilters in our area, like the military guys, like the Navy, the sailors and the Army and the Marines and that sort of thing, that go into the quilt shops in my area and buy stuff to, as a way to have a creative outlet. And we just don't happen to cross paths.
There's a handful of them that I do know of that are out there because I grew up next to a Marine base out in Hawaii, and
Okay.
there's a lot of activities specifically geared for former Marines and former servicemen that do have suffer from PTSD. They teach them various crafts
Mhm.
just to get their mind off of, or just to get them out of their own head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, Russ was saying here I've had shops I've never shopped in wonder about me. They get excited when I find out I quilt. And that's kind of been my experience too. Like if someone asks me, like I tell them, hey, I'm here to buy quilt stuff that I'm going to make something with. They do get excited. Like they're like, oh, this
mhm.
is awesome. Like, what are you making? And that sort of thing there. They always have a genuine interest. So I mean, I've had nothing but positive experience. I mean, yeah, the worst I've had is I sometimes have to go ask for help, and I hate asking for help. So, but I just have to get over myself and go, but that's the worst I have to worry about, that I'm doing well. So, all right, let's see. Kathleen is here. She says, everyone, please take a second to hit the thumbs up button. And I love it if you do that. It does help us out immensely because it helps the engagement rating on YouTube and it pushes it out to more folks. And make sure you still subscribe to the notification bell. Don't forget to share as well. Ginger from the Copycat Quilter is here with me. She says, good morning, late start this morning. My man is doing long arming and people in shops are always interested in why he started and talking to him. So yeah, I think I really do think it's a read. Yeah, it just depends on where you are in the country. But as I said, I am not a expert on the matter. I can only tell you what my own experience has been. All right, so Marie is asking, do you mostly shop with a quilt pattern in mind? Yes.
I
I'm
don't.
always like, no.
No,
And
I don't.
that's a great divide. Like some people buy the fabric first and then find a pattern for it. Yeah, I am definitely the opposite. Now, if I see a fabric that I like that I can't leave without, I will buy it. Like I'll get a yard of it or whatever it is. I mean, I have nothing that I can grab my hands on right now. I do that, but yeah, generally I buy the pattern first. Usually what happens, like I find the pattern that I have to have, then I shop from stash, and then once I figure out what I haven't got, then I go to the store. That's usually my process. But yeah, I'm definitely a pattern first guy.
Are you a kit person?
Generally, no. I'd rather do my own spin on it. Now I am making a Alice in Wonderland themed quilt from Art East Quilting Co. I did buy the kit for that because it was all Tula pink. I have never used her stuff before, and I thought it'd be a great opportunity to do it. But generally, I like to do my own spin and buy my own stuff. So I've bought kits in the past. I've loved them, but yeah, I think I'd rather do my own thing for the most part because that way it's uniquely mine if I do it myself.
Oh, yeah, I'm the total opposite. I will buy the fabric and then try to find the pattern that will go with that fabric. But usually it's because I'm usually caught by just a pretty fabric and like I just gotta have it. So
Yeah.
I usually overbuy it.
Yeah, if I'm buying a pretty fabric that I just have to have, my usual go-to is just buy a yard and then I'll figure out what I'll do with it later. Like I don't want to sit there and buy, 5 or 6 yards because I may never use it. It may just sit in my my pretty fabric that I pet once in a while category, and that's I have enough of that already. So Jamie says that she buys what she likes, especially if it's on sale. Yeah, I love stuff that's on sale. So Marie John says, I love kits, pricey, but if you figure out what it costs, sometimes it evens out. And that's kind of how I felt about the Alice in Wonderland one that I bought. I think the kit was I forget what it was because I bought it back in June or May. I think it was like 150 some Canadian dollars, but I figured by the time I went out and found 54 different fabrics, it was worth it. Just not having to go out and find it,
That's true.
because
That's true.
yeah, sometimes it's the opportunity cost. Like, yeah, could you get it yourself cheaper? Possibly, but I don't know how many stores I would have had to have gone to try and find it. So I figured at that point, it was just easier for me to. Oh, did I do this wrong again?
We've all been there, Sean.
I
We've
know.
all been there.
Hey. So sometimes on a live, you get through without having to visit your friend Jack, and then sometimes he comes out 2 or 3 times. And my rule always is, when you have to rip it out a second time in the same sitting, you put the project away to the side and you bring out something else. So that's what, otherwise you just get mad and you start throwing stuff, and it's not a good thing. Okay, so Marie says she's addicted to legit kits, and that's a good question for you. Have you done the FPP projects?
I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, Tiffany's always trying to get me to do an FPP thing, but FPP is just one of those techniques where, yes, I can do it. I don't thoroughly enjoy it, but I do like the results that it does give me. So, I don't mind doing it. If I had to do it to save my life, I could do it, but it's not one of those processes that I enjoy doing, honestly. But I do
Yeah,
see what people are doing with those legit kits, and there are absolutely stunning quilts out there that I've seen.
for sure. Yeah. I have a pattern for one. I got the dragon. I bought it back in February. I just got the pattern because I love the red dragon that is in there. But again, like I was just saying a few moments ago, I love doing my own spin on it. So I want to make it purple. So I have to go to the fabric store one day and actually buy what I don't have on hand for it. But that's a 2024 project. So, but yeah, I'm kind of like you. I don't mind FPP. I'll do it in a pinch, but my heart is definitely more towards traditional piecing. But it's a good tool to have in my toolbox. If I see a pattern that's FPP that I really, really want to do, I love that I have the knowledge on how to do it.
Yeah.
So if you want to see FPP projects primarily on a channel, I can recommend several to you. But yeah, it's definitely not. It's just not my heart right now. We may come back in 2 years and I'll be like, hey, FPP all the way. A lot of people fall into it, and once they really get their hold of it, that's all they ever do. So yeah. I'll never say never, but not at this present time. Okay, so let's see. I love kits. I have a scale for fabrics. Okay, Molly says I have a scale for fabrics I like to help me decide if I need 1, 2, or 3 yards for my stash. If I really like it, I'll buy 2 to 3 yards. That's a good idea. I like that. Leslie says she agrees with you, Eric. I started buying fabric before I even started sewing. I would always be with my sister when she stopped for fabric. Lara says she's useless at following instructions and tend to follow my own. And that's okay. Like I always tell people that, to me, a pattern is like a recipe. If you want to have your quilt turn out exactly the same as the pattern designer designed it, follow the pattern. But you can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, I goofed up on last week's live with I was making a bee block, little honeybee, and I cut one of the pieces. I put one of the wrong size pieces on there. It's like a 1/4 inch off. I left it. I was like, who's going to notice? It's just part of a wing. Like if it's a 1/4 inch bigger than it's supposed to be, no one's going to notice. I just did it on both sides. It was already on both sides anyway. So I just left it. And I'm definitely one of those guys that likes to follow the picture. If you have a pattern that has a lot of pictures like this, that's my thing. I don't tend to read the words unless I have to. So yeah, that's my thing there.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I've ever did the exact same quilt in terms of the fabric choices. I've never done it where I did it using the exact same fabrics with the same or with the pattern. I always put my own spin to it and use my own fabrics of it.
And I think it's a good thing. I think it's good for us to have our own spin. I mean, even with the Alice in Wonderland project I'm doing right now, the first block with Alice, the fabric that they use for the blush on the cheeks. It's some sort of tulip pink. It's like tiny dots with something. And to me, it almost looked like she had measles or mumps. And I was like, I'm going to put, I don't know. It didn't speak to me. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. But I used Kona Sheen in the pink, and it just, because it looks so good on my Wizard of Oz project I did with them last year. So I put that on there. I think it looks fantastic. And then when I do Clues 3, I'll do the same thing because I just prefer it. So yeah, I mean, use your own spin on it. I think it's great. So
a lot of times I will actually buy a kit just because I like the fabric, but I don't like the pattern. I just wanted the fabric.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, it's great. Yeah, go for it. So Marie says, I'm still thinking about chocolate chip pancakes. So I think I'm going to go make some great live. Glad I could hang out a while. Go enjoy. I hope I inspired someone to make some nice breakfast. So that's good. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap things up in just a few moments because we try and keep it to about 90 minutes wherever we can. Okay. So do you have anything that you want to share with us, Eric? Like anything fun coming up on your channel, or do you just want to tell us what's happening on your channel? So that way, if anyone hasn't gone over and checked out your channel, which I need to do because it's a lot of fun. I think you'd enjoy it. Do you have anything going on that you'd like to share with us?
Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for organizing this, Sean. It's been a pleasure to get to know everybody as well as yourself out there.
It's been great. I mean, I've loved it, and I love that you said, "Like, yeah, I'll hop on at 5 a.m." I guess it's amazing.
So as for me, because I do have a few things that I am sort of like testing out and kind of feeling out. One of them is, whoops, my camera just went off again.
That's okay. We can wait for you. It's not a big deal.
One of the things that I've been noticing is that within the quilting space, whenever there's a new product that comes out, there's not a lot of people online that talk about things. In other industries, like, for example, tech, of course, I do tend to keep my eye on certain types of photography cameras or video cameras. And when there's a new camera out there, there's like 1,000 content creators that will do some kind of product review. But when it comes to quilting items, there's not a lot of us talking about these items. And so one of the things I was thinking about doing was doing some videos where I do product reviews. And so doing my homework about that, there's a lot of legal issues and a lot of other interesting things that go along with it. But I think starting in 2024, you might see a lot of videos from me where I do give different opinions about certain quilting tools. Because I do go to a lot of quilting shows around the country. There's a lot of products out there that don't get talked about. And I think we should start talking about them and trying to help these small businesses kind of get more advertising out there. So that's one of the things that I've been kind of planning and looking to do towards 2024. And just kind of putting my usual spin on it, make fun of myself and make it humorous and as well as educational to it so that you can enjoy watching it. So that's one project that I'm kind of working on right now. Another thing that I'm trying to work with this company again is So Kind of Wonderful. Usually I have like a year-long quilt along, and I think I'm going to do one of the quilts that's in this book, but I want to make sure that the company is okay with me doing that because, just for not to create some bad karma, or make sure that they're on board and they're okay with me doing it because I am using their products. And so I don't want to get into any legal issues with that, but and in the near future, next week, I will be heading out to Houston. So hopefully my phone's internet can manage it, and I might be doing some live sessions from there. So stay tuned for that.
That'll be fun.
And we're all excited. There's myself and some another YouTuber that is going to the show. So we're all kind of doing a road trip together, and it should be fun. So looking forward to that.
That'd be a long way from LA to Houston. mean, what is it, like 2 days, I think?
Well, they're coming in from St. Louis. I'm flying in and meeting with them, but
Oh,
we
okay.
got a whole itinerary planned of what each of us are wanting to do. So
That makes more sense. I think the product review thing's a great idea. I mean, that's something I've actually planning on doing myself but I think the idea of doing it sooner is good, because what I've always liked to do with my product reviews, and I've only done one or two, is I like to use the product for a while and get like a long-term thing of it. But I think doing it up front, like what you're talking about, would be very, very helpful for a lot of quilters, because there's so many products out there, and it's good to, I think it'd be good for someone to say, hey, yeah, I've tried it out for a couple of days and I really, really like it, or, it's okay. It might be better for someone that XYZ.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd be super excited to see what you come up with, because I think you'll be a good judge of character for that. So someone did ask a question here. Is Kathleen was asking, is anyone going to be on Becca's Zoom today? I'm making a quilted sweater. Possibly, I don't know. I might hop on for a little while. I'd have to get a sign on for that, because I know I have one, but I've kind of lost it. So I don't know. I might head over. That'll be TBD. But let's see. We've got some folks saying that they subscribe to your channel. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always good. Yeah, Eric's a lot of fun. Go over and check him out. If you like the content, hit the like, subscribe. We always love hearing the comments as well. So he's a lot of fun. I've been a big fan of Eric's. I don't get to see his content as much as I like to, because I subscribe to like 1 million people, because I like everybody. But yeah, whenever I see he's live and I'm actually up, I like to hop on for at least a little while and say hi. So I think with that, we'll go ahead and say goodbye. Head over and check out Donnell's live at 11 a.m. this morning Eastern. I believe Mum and Pop Quilt Shop come on at 1 p.m. Eastern. And then when are your lives again? You're on a weeknight, correct?
I'm on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time.
Yeah, that's past my bedtime. Debbie's asking what time is Becca's Zoom. It's like an all day thing. It's offline. It's not it's not on YouTube. It's it's like for a VIP people that have access to that. So there you go. I know Stephen Bland's also doing his all day quilt pop in day, so you can also head over to that. And then I forget who else is live. Tiff goes live tomorrow night. Yeah. So yeah, plenty of quilty content to see. Go check out his Eric's channel. I've got plenty of stuff up if you haven't seen the October series, and then I'll be back tomorrow morning again to tell you what I've been up to, and you'll be able to see the completed clue, since I've messed it up twice already. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you all for joining us. It was a lot of fun having Eric. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you all next time on the next video. Have a good day and happy sewing.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. All right.